Today, we are talking about the economic logic of the World Cup, 40,000 temporary jobs, 820,000 full-time jobs, $13 billion in revenue, and $41 billion in GDP. These are the numbers for the 2026 World Cup. But once the tournament ends, this short-term growth will quickly vanish. What you mistake for a golden opportunity actually hides three economic principles you absolutely must understand. Today, we aren't talking about who will win the trophy. Let's use three economic principles to deconstruct the wealth logic of the World Cup. What was the earliest World Cup you ever watched? Let me know in the comments section. Principle 1. Asset-light arbitrage. Why can this World Cup guarantee steady profits and a sure win without dumping billions of dollars into it? In many people's minds, hosting a major tournament means pouring massive amounts of capital into building stadiums. Qatar in 2022 invested roughly $229 billion, building 7 new stadiums from the desert, and was dubbed the most expensive World Cup in history. However, after the event, these venues mostly sit idle, with maintenance costs starting at millions of dollars every year. Conversely, the 2026 World Cup, hosted by the US, Canada, and Mexico, features 48 teams and 104 matches, spanning 3 countries and 16 cities. Over 90% of the tournament venues directly utilize existing stadiums, with very little investment in new infrastructure, revitalizing existing assets and leveraging momentum for incremental growth. This is asset-light arbitrage. Using the lowest marginal cost to drive the maximum return is the pinnacle of top-tier business logic. Are there any similar asset-light cases around you? Let's chat in the comments. Principle 2. The impulse economy. Why does nothing remain once the hype fades? The latest report from Goldman Sachs shows that this World Cup will add 40,000 temporary jobs in the US this June. Hotels, catering, and transportation are experiencing a short-term boom. But please pay attention to the word temporary. Once the matches end, the jobs disappear and consumption falls back. This World Cup is no exception. After the 2002 Korea-Japan World Cup, South Korea's GDP growth plummeted from 7.6% to 3.1%. The hot money dissolved, leaving a complete mess behind. I have a friend who runs a restaurant. For the 2018 World Cup, he hoarded 500 cases of beer. After the tournament, he barely managed to sell them off and ended up losing 20,000 yuan. He later told me he would never chase these short-lived trends again. Therefore, all short-term growth driven by event hype is merely a flash in the pan. It must never be mistaken for a long-term trend. Principle 3. The Matthew effect plus emotional pricing. Why does capital always win steady profits while ordinary people foot the bill? The distribution of wealth at the World Cup has never been a story of everyone making money together. It always belongs to the tiny fraction at the top of the pyramid. According to FIFA's forecasts, total revenue for this 4-year cycle will reach $13 billion, with sponsorship and marketing alone accounting for $1.786 billion. Just 4 Chinese enterprises invested over $500 million, driving Qatar's sponsorship cycle growth by 72%, making it potentially the most lucrative sports event in history. The sandwich layer in the middle, the host cities, gains exposure, but they bear the high costs of security, venues, and operations. Their revenue share is spread thin, meaning they essentially make a lot of noise but very little profit. As for the grains of sand at the bottom of the foundation, small businesses and ordinary consumers, merchants blindly hoard merchandise and follow the crowd to raise prices. Ordinary people get swept up in the atmosphere and spend impulsively. When the hype cools down, all that's left is a pile of stuck inventory and a bunch of unnecessary expenses. Even more hidden is emotional pricing. Take the exact same product, slap a World Cup label on it, and the price instantly inflates by 30% to several times over. In 2022, the Argentina-branded Messi co-authored figure skyrocketed from its original price of 69 yuan to 609 yuan, a near 8-fold premium. In this World Cup, some popular blind boxes have seen premiums exceeding 500%. The authentic player version jersey for the French team costs 160 euros, a 20% increase from the last tournament. It's fine to buy into your emotions, but never treat emotions as an investment. 3 World Cup survival rules that ordinary people can replicate. Never use heavy assets to chase hypes. The biggest risk of a short-term trend is a heavy capital commitment. Whether it's hoarding goods, opening a shop, or jumping into speculation, smart people always leverage the trend with an asset-light approach and never gamble with heavy assets. Distinguish between impulse revenue and long-term returns. The World Cup, holidays, and various viral internet trends all bring short-term impulse revenue. It looks booming, but it lacks sustainability. You must never blindly expand or follow the crowd into the game. See through the underlying logic of wealth distribution. In any nationwide trend, the top layer makes money based on the rules. The middle layer makes money based on information asymmetry, and the bottom layer loses money by paying for their emotions. If you want to break free from the fate of being harvested, you must step out of the crowd's frenzy and view the issue from the perspective of capital. In reality, the World Cup has never been a simple sports event. It is a miniature snapshot of the socio-economy. The excitement always belongs to the masses, but the profit always flows to the few who understand the rules. Have you ever hoarded goods or bought souvenirs for the World Cup? Share your experience in the comments. Follow me and see you next time.